Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as we talk about big takeover news that's going to come in today, we expect. Also, Erik ten Hag wanders away from Harry Kane because it could be a very difficult deal and his eyes wander towards a Danish young striker, HOJLUND or HOJLUND or however you can pronounce it. We'll be talking about that. Also, Fabrizio Romano's got an update on two players. One we don't really want to be selling, one many of us probably do want to sell. Also, very interesting backlash or reaction to a poll last night that we did around Mason Greenwood. Twitter's sort of blown up about that, saying, you know, all sorts of stuff, which we'll talk about, which I think is a good thing. You know, as I said, we don't shirk stuff on here, so we'll talk about that as well. Also, a bit of a blow around Garnacho. He might not play again this season, not because of injury, because of an under-20s World Cup. We'll talk about that. And also, I've got a very sad update about the Gary Neville quest. Yeah, we've got to face reality. Last night, we basically received a crushing blow from Gary. Gary's a red. I think he's also a yellow as well because I think we're just going to have to move on. We tried, but we'll talk about that in a bit. He's bottled it basically. Let's hit the headline though. Why so early, Mark? It's just Kevin. It's 10 o'clock, mate. We've been doing a 10 o'clock show for about 7 years, so. And you've been in the live chat for years. I don't know what you're on, Kevin. I don't know what's happened to your watch. But you need to wake up and smell the coffee, mate. Anyway, let's get into it. Lots to talk about. We're going to talk about Harry Kane to start off with. It's pretty much been established over recent weeks that Harry Kane is the first target for Erik ten Hag and Manchester United, whether you want that to be the case or not. Look. If you don't live in the UK, I'll give you a glimpse. If you do live in the UK, you already know. This is a lot like Pochettino last year. The UK press are desperate. Whether it's Talk Sport, Sky Sports, Gary Neville and the ex-players, the journalists, 100% typical British bias. They want Harry Kane. I say British bias. They are Harry Kane's British, so there's a bias there. I mean, it's not like some of this nonsense we see around Harry Maguire compared to Bruno, where it's just complete nonsensical about a passport. Harry Kane is world class, but you know everybody's on about Harry Kane here, and everybody's saying Harry Kane needs to go to Manchester United. So it appears that Harry Kane is the number one target. But there is some interesting news this week, of course, and Mikael Roach has just gifted a membership. Thank you very much, mate. Talking about this Rasmus, I can't pronounce his surname, HOJLUND. Højbjerg, I suppose HOJLUND is probably the right name. Morning, mate, says Aidan. Morning, pal. And effectively, the Dave Boyd says, morning, Mark. This Glazer debt repayment news is unbelievable. Mate, it's slow sports news. I mean, I don't know how people have the balls to do videos on a Friday morning about £1 billion of debt when we did it last night. Like it's just slow. We spoke about it last night. The debt for Manchester United is around £1 billion, but we've known about this for 4 months. People are like writing articles about it. I just don't know. I don't know whether these people actually support Manchester United. They get paid to inform United fans. We've known about this. I'm not doing a bloody video about £1 billion of debt. We mentioned it on the show last night. I mean, I just think it's regurgitation of people who are simple. Like, I don't get it. Like, the debt's always been around £1 billion when you add it up. We've got about £500 million of debt from what we've always owed from them buying the club. And then you just add up, you know, what we owe on transfers and other areas, and it will get to £1 billion. This is why I think they're going to sell. So I'm not talking about that. We spoke about it last night. Let's get back onto reality and news that actually is relevant. So I have got a bit of takeover news to talk about with you, but back where I wanted to talk, which is about this Rasmus HOJLUND. So the story is that if Manchester United can't sign Harry Kane, Rasmus HOJLUND is a target that Erik ten Hag really likes. I think it's probably fair to say that the two high priorities for Erik ten Hag are Harry Kane and Osimhen, and if neither of those are gettable, then I think we probably will move for Rasmus HOJLUND of Atalanta, because I think he ticks a lot of boxes. Now, here's one to put in your pipe and smoke it. How would you feel if Man United signed Harry Kane and then Spurs used the money from Harry Kane to buy Rasmus HOJLUND for half the price? So we give Spurs £100 million for 30-year-old Harry Kane, and they take 60 of it and go and buy HOJLUND from Atalanta. Might drop. I mean, it might not bother you. it might not bother you. It might bother you, but you know, look, you've got to look at this. It's a bit like if we buy Kane and Chelsea buy Osimhen. Like, it's not like there's many levels to what we're going to do with this striker thing, and it's not just about Harry Kane's world class. Let's go and sign Harry Kane because everyone's saying let's buy Harry Kane. As you know, I've always felt that Man United would buy Harry Kane. I said it back in bloody September. I thought it was obvious that we'd buy Harry Kane, and lo and behold, it looks like we will. But I've never been comfortable with it. I think Harry Kane's world class. There's no doubt about that. And if he signs for United, he's got my 100% support. It's not about, I don't want us to buy him. I don't want us to buy him. But all I'm saying is that there are issues if you do buy him, potentially around age. He could start picking up injuries. It's a lot of money. You've got to deal with Spurs. And where do all the other options go if we go for Harry Kane? Where do all these young strikers go? You could end up in a situation where we buy Harry Kane, in 4 years' time, he retires, he's finished, and then we're looking at Spurs to pay another 100 million for HOJLUND. So it's almost like maybe we should just go for the young striker now. There's something more exciting and innovative and forward-thinking, pardon the pun, going for someone like Rasmus HOJLUND than there is Harry Kane. I've always said that. I don't really like buying other people's stars or other, taking other clubs' managers. That was the problem with Mourinho, wasn't it? Chelsea sacked him, we took him. So look, I think we'll buy Harry Kane, but I'd like to think that we might have a look at other options. One of the best versus someone no one has seen play is Robert McCormack, and massively bothers me. 100 million to a rival who we've been competing with for top four. We shouldn't be building. We should be building for the future and stop buying these 30+ players, says Dan Watson. And Seb, welcome to Members Club. But of course, overarching all of that, you've got the Robin van Persie thing. I mean, I'll drop another one. I'm dropping some good takes this morning, which is unusual. So yeah, look, if we buy Harry Kane, what if Spurs buy HOJLUND, or somebody that we would like Vlahovic or Ramos from Benfica? That's one option. Another option is, Ten Hag's had these dinner dates with Sir Alex. I don't think they've been talking about last night's episode of The Mandalorian. This is the way. I don't think that's what they've been talking about. What if they've been talking about stuff like, what if Sir Alex has sat there whilst they're chewing on the steak going, you know what? Go and get Harry Kane, I'm telling you. Go and get Harry Kane. I've played the game. Go and get Harry Kane, Eric. Go and get Harry Kane, I'm telling you. I've played the game. I did it with I'm not going to carry on with that. I did it with Van Persie. This is what happens. Who knows? And Eric Ten Hag might listen to Sir Alex. So I'm not, Manchester United Football Club want Harry Kane. They've wanted him for about 4 years. So our scouting network, our director of football, our board is the same today as it was 4 years ago. So I'm not going to lie to you. There's people within that football club who 100% will be saying, should we go and get Harry Kane? Because they've wanted him for years. And I think Ten Hag's gone, yeah. And I think that's where we're at the moment. But the one thing is, if you don't want Harry Kane, and I'm not saying I don't, because as Robert says, I know Robert's a big fan. I know many of you are big fans. I know Charlie's a big fan. I think Adam's a big fan. I respect that. He's a world-class striker. I just personally would rather we went for somebody a bit younger that we can develop ourselves. But I said this a couple of weeks ago. I read somewhere today, I read loads of stuff this morning, so I can't shout out where it was from. Maybe some of you have read the same article, but we definitely have been saying it for a few weeks, and I read it in an article this morning. The problem with Harry Kane is that in the middle of June, he's playing England internationals, then he'll be going on holiday, and then he'll come back for pre-season in early July, by which time United will not have sorted a deal out. So he will go on pre-season tour with Spurs, wherever that's going to be. And I can see a situation where we're still working on this deal in mid to late August, which means he'll miss our pre-season and he'll miss the start of the season. Well, that to me is a kicker in itself. We've seen what damage that can do, and we've also seen the benefits of being on a pre-season with Eric Ten Hag. So, that's another reason for me. I want a striker to come in right here, right now. ZR7 says, keep up the great work. Thank you, pal. And morning, Mark. I'm sat in my tile shop in Scotland on my own till 5. Cheers for keeping me sane, says Cypher. Well, hopefully you'll get some customers. If you tell us where it is, we'll give you a shout out, Cypher. Ash, maybe you want a nice quiet day on a Friday. Welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. So that's the latest on the striker situation. We'll obviously see how it develops. Don't forget, today we've got Erik ten Hag's press conference coming in at lunchtime, and I'll be doing a preview for the first time in a couple of weeks this afternoon as well for the United game. Why can't we go for both marks as Evans? Well, I suppose that feeds into the news about the sale. Look, a very quick update on this. I sort of hinted at it yesterday. There's a very big expectation from the people who are in the know that there will be a significant update around the sale of Manchester United today or at some point over the next, well, I would say today. I don't think we'll get it over the weekend. You never know. But if it's not today, early next week. But it's expected to be at some point today. There'll be a big update around the sale of Manchester United because the Rain Group have had the bids for a week. And, you know, everyone needs to know what the next stage is going to be. And the expectation is that Sir Jim, Al-Thani and everybody else, they don't know what the next stage is going to be. So as soon as they know, it's expected that will hit public, and that could well be today. Sometimes it happens on a Friday night. It's happened in a Friday night before, but that's the rumour going round from the people in the know. And obviously, as soon as we know for sure, we will let you know, but you'll probably see it publicly anyway. But there's expected to be a big announcement. I say big announcement, you know what I mean? Like the big announcement I'm talking about was when we had that deadline of the Friday a few weeks ago, and then the Wednesday, and then, you know, the bids are going in, or there's going to be a third stage of bidding. And ultimately, what I'm hoping for from that is that there's going to be one preferred bidder that goes through to the final stage. That's what we were promised. That's what we hoped. And when I say that's what we were promised, we were told back in November and throughout December and January that the aim was to have the deal done by the end of March. Well, today is the 31st of March, people. So my fear is the update will be that there's going to be a third round of bids, which will knock it back another 2 weeks, which takes us to the middle of April, which means we won't have a new owner until probably, you know, look, the transfer window for me opens up on May the 1st. The Glazers are clearly still going to be in charge on May the 1st. So, my frustration around this process still stands. Van Persie or Lewandowski 2012. Van Persie was the right signing as we just missed the title. Bayern got Lewandowski and won the long term. Are we in the same situation like 2012, says DK? Good point. You know, I'd like to see us go a little bit more long term. Zlatan, Falcao, Igalo, Cavani. It's time United bought players for the long term rather than a stopgap, says Lee. I don't think we can get any targets in early in the window unless there are free. Club is in an absolute mess financially. Sale needs to happen yesterday, says Dan. Absolutely spot on. Rasmus will pay for himself in the long run. Imagine Rashford, Rasmus, Anthony, Sancho running at any defence. Wow, just wow, says Ray. You might have already said, but have you seen HOJLUND followed United and a bunch of United players on Instagram? Him and Kane in, Wout and Martial out, says Tunja. I mean, look, I don't do that, but you know, I have seen that. I have seen he's followed a lot of United players on Instagram, but it doesn't mean anything really. Will Kane and Bruno work? They like to occupy the same position, says Drexel. I don't think they'll work. I've said that before, but Kane would have to become more of a number 9 than what he is at Spurs. Spurs don't play with a number 10. But I thought that was a very, very relevant comment as well, that this summer transfer window is going to be, you know, problematic as it stands at the moment. It's my biggest frustration because when you have the March international break and you come back like we are now, you're excited about the run-in, but you're excited about the summer transfer window as well because it all starts to kick off. United can't do anything. We don't know what our transfer budget is. We don't know who the owner's going to be, but we do know we have £1 billion worth of debt and a stadium that needs to be built. And if the Glazers, it's not even if the Glazers stay, it's if the Glazers elongate this sale process by much more, it's going to impact the summer. And they won't spend. They won't spend in the summer anywhere near what a new owner would spend. So it is worrying. And, you know, we need to we need that big development on the sale news today. We need it to start moving. Like, we've got to get to a conclusion yesterday, as that super chat said. So thank you very much for that. Someone said, are you doing any watch-alongs this weekend? Man United Newcastle's on Sunday afternoon. I'm doing Liverpool Man City tomorrow lunchtime on That's Football. So I'll do a morning show and then we'll do that. So yeah, great. Mark, do you want Old Trafford renovated or a new stadium, says Grace. We did a poll on it already, Grace. 85% want renovation, not a new stadium. Yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Just want to talk about something that Fabrizio Romano's put out this morning as well. Manchester United have got a decision to make on the future of Victor Lindelof and Scott McTominay. There was interest from Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid in Victor Lindelof in January that United rejected. There was interest from Newcastle for Scott McTominay in January, and there remains interest from Newcastle for Scott McTominay. Neither of these two things surprise me. Let me know what you think in the chat. But I think with McTominay, it's all about him. He should enjoy what he did for Scotland. He should realise he's not good enough for Man United, and he should move on to somewhere that he can play first team football. And that's that. Take away what you think about him as a player. You know what I think about him. I know some people rate him, McTerminator, he's well liked, but ultimately I think it's about Scott McTominay. And if I was him, he's living the dream. You're a professional footballer, mate. Well done. No one can take that away from you. I wanted to be one. I'm sure most people in the chat wanted to be one. You are one. Well done. Don't waste it sitting on the bench of the club that you love when you can't play. Because when you're 40, you'll look back on your career and go, it's gone. That was my chance. You're only here once. You won't get another career. You've been at Man United. Go and do what the likes of Nicky Butt did at the end of their career, and Darren Fletcher did it, and Phil Neville did it, and considerably better players than Scott McTominay. But go on, you're 26, mate. Go and play first team football in the Premier League. You've got your Scottish place, and have 5, 6, 7, 8 years where you actually play football. Yes, you can stay at Man United, you can cameo, you can get on the bloody new kit release, you can earn good money, you'll still get called up for Scotland, but I just think go and play. And I can't, dream scenario, he starts playing world class for United, but we've been waiting for that for 6 years, and I still don't see where he fits in. So look, it's down to Scott McTominay. He may well say, I don't want to go, I want to stay here and be on the bench. So I don't know, but it's down to the player. It's exactly the same with Harry Maguire. I don't think he will go. I don't think he will ask to go. I just think Maguire, as we know, he's got nothing to prove. So he's got a very, very confusing mindset. He's his own biggest fan. I think he runs his own fan club. And he's got nothing to prove. So I don't think he will leave. I don't think he's ambitious enough to go and play first team football elsewhere. I just think he'll get his journalists to ask questions every week about why he's not playing. Victor Lindelof, I've said this for weeks. I think Lindelof will go. And I would rather Lindelof stayed, because I think Lindelof will go because he's ambitious. And you've got Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan that want to buy Victor Lindelof. And this is the difference between Lindelof and Maguire. Maguire's got nothing to prove and no one wants him. Victor Lindelof wants to play first team football and big clubs want him. I've always said this. I think Lindelof will go and Maguire will stay, because Maguire will just get comfortable and say, I'm going to stay. And Victor Lindelof will be like, I love the club, but I want to play football. We need more Victor Lindelofs, really. We need that sort of a mentality where if they're not in the team, they work hard to get in the team. And then if they're still not in the team, they knock on the manager's door and say, I love it here, but I want to play football. I've only got one career, I want to play football. So I think Lindelof will end up going. I don't think we should be letting him go, because I think he's a brilliant player to have around as a third, fourth choice centre-back. But you can't disrespect a guy knocking on the door and saying, I want to play football. So I'd be sad to see Lindelof go, because I think he's the perfect sort of, backup centre-back. But, I think it comes down to ambition. Scooby-Doo, says Lewis. Thank you very much. Hi, Mark. Great job that you're doing. I think we should be targeting young and hungry players like Evan Ferguson, HOJLUND and the like, says Vaz. Look, my preference is that, Vaz. I agree. My preference is that we go for a younger striker. That Ten Hag, to me, is a manager that has proven that he can develop talent. Did you know that Delot has clocked the quickest speed of any right back in the Premier League this season? I read that this morning. Delot is the fastest right back in the league. He's clocked the fastest time, so he's quicker than Kyle Walker, he's quicker than Trent, he's quicker than Wan-Bissaka or any other right back. So that's not the end of the, I'm not saying that's a reason to buy somebody. Look, Kyle Walker, take his pace away, he's playing for Leyton Orient. But what I'm saying is Delot represents development, Wan-Bissaka represents development, Rashford does, Bruno does. Ten Hag is a developer. I would love to see us buy some younger players and let him develop them, a striker that he can develop into the striker you want. Imagine getting hold of a Ferguson or a HOJLUND. We know the type of striker that Ten Hag wants. Imagine getting a player like that and being able to mould them into the striker that you want. And then you've got him for the next five years. It's amazing. Ashish says, I've been sick, Mark. Hope you get well soon, Pete. But been meaning to ask you, can United go for 2 strikers with Kane and 1 more in the transfer window? Says Ashish. Well, the general consensus is that I think that we do need 2 strikers. I think Ricky said it on stage in Dublin. I've said it on here a few times. Many of you've said it as well. We do need. We do need 2 strikers. Cavani left in the summer. We did not replace him. Ronaldo left. We did not replace him. And Martial's injury prone. Well, Weghorst came in on loan, but that's not a permanent deal, and I don't think most people would want it to be a permanent deal. So effectively, you've got Martial who's injury prone, so he can't play. Cavani's gone. Ronaldo's gone. So, and also, there is 250. It's about £1 million worth of wages there. Can I just say as well, just join Twitter, send us a follow, guys. Says Robert, tell us what your Twitter is, Robert, and we'll give you a shout out. You're a legend of the chat, you know that. Twitch is on tonight, yeah, but United have made a profit. This will make you laugh. So Manchester United, in their quarterly review yesterday, they've made £6 million profit in the last few months, right? Do your maths. Who left on £500,000 a week 4 months ago? Shoo! What's £500,000 a week a month? 2 million. 2 + 4 is 6. That's not how it works, but you know what I mean. It's about £6 million. We've made a profit because Ronaldo left and got replaced by Weghorst on loan. Like that's how it works, you know. And 6 million is, you know, it's pissing in the wind anyway. It's pissing in a force 10 gale that's coming back at you. A force 10 gale might not be that strong, I don't know. But yeah, it's not the profit. The club's in a bloody mess. We're going to sell. I'll explain this situation for you for those who haven't figured it out yet. The Glazers have got to sell. They desperately want to stay. They've got to sell. They want 6 billion. No one will give them 6 billion. And now we're stuck in this position where the Glazers want to sell, but they want 6 billion. People want to buy, but they won't pay 6 billion. And we're lost in this area in between. They definitely do want to sell. Mohammed says 2 strikers or 2 midfielders. 2 strikers or 2 midfielders. Well, you know what? Technically, I think we need both. I do. Right, Rob McCormack is a member, and I might just be able to give you a follow here live on air. Let me just have a look and see if I've got this right. I'm on to Twitter, Rob. I'm going to type it in. Oh no, I don't follow you. There we go. It's at Rob McCormack 19. I've just given you a follow there. Thank you very much. Oh, get me away from Twitter. Twitter's depressing me. Lots more to talk about this morning. We're going to talk about the Garnacho news. We're going to talk about this Greenwood poll. And we're going to talk a bit about a few other things as well. Great show, says Lewis. DK says too many Roberts. I went back to Twitter there and it just reminded me of something. Last Friday night show is always a good show. Last Friday night, I think the Overlap YouTube channel had put out a community post saying, who should we get on the show next? If you ever have time to go and look at their community tab and find that question, it's overwhelming about Mark Goldbridge, the United Stand. You've got to get him on. It's the biggest United channel. It's the biggest fan channel anyway. Why would you not get them on? So absolutely swamped with it. And I think I sort of fell into the trap of, as well as, surely they're going to ask us to go on. And then over the weekend, you know, I was saying to Gary Neville on his tweets, let's go for a pint. Ignored, might be on mute. I've accepted. I haven't accepted defeat. I mean, defeat would be just to never mention the name Gary Neville again. That will still get mentioned, but I can't be bothered wasting time on his tweets anymore. The final straw for me was last night. He'd put a tweet out about the Hall of Fame. I tweeted him. I replied to him at 9:29. It's a disgrace that Dennis Irwin. I've been on about it on the 8 o'clock show. I said it's a disgrace that Dennis Irwin hasn't been nominated, and you played with him. You must know that, Gary. At 9:35, he quote tweeted about Dennis Irwin, but he didn't quote tweet mine. He quote tweeted somebody at 9:34, 5 minutes after I'd said it, had said Dennis Irwin should be there. And I just thought, I've played the game. He's a bottle job. He's scared. let's move on. I can't waste my time. We've got such a great community. We have such a laugh. We say it how it is. We're not scared of talking about Greenwood or the sale or what ex-players play. It's not personal. It's about having an opinion. It's about having a chat. I can't play the game with somebody who is, basically a little child who's terrified of getting into a debate with somebody he's never met. Don't be like that. That's all I can say. At the end of the day, I'm not a massive fan of Gabby Agbonlahor. I'm not a massive fan of Piers Morgan. If they said to me, come on a show, let's have a chat, I'd do it. 100%. That's what life's all about. Tyson Fury and Usyk, that fight should be happening. We're only here once. I can't waste my time on people who, look, and people will say, he don't know you, bro. Of course he bloody knows who I am. We're the biggest Man United fan channel. We are. He's replied to me in the past. He's got the hump. He doesn't want to do it. He spends all his time gobbing off about politics and football, and he's terrified of actually having a chat with the biggest United community. What do you want me to do about it? I tried. He knows about it. He doesn't want to do it. It's freedom of choice. But my message to you is just don't be like that in life. Don't mouth off about having an opinion and wanting debates and then be scared of having a debate with somebody, because it absolutely isolates you as a hypocrite. That door's always open from our side, but I'm not playing the games anymore. I've played the game. He doesn't want to do it. Let's all respect it. But, at the end of the day, we're not going to stop reacting to, some of the things he says. And the door's open. I don't get it. I don't understand people like that. It's almost, we've been fighting this for 7 years, where people are terrified. I remember a guy from another channel who wished I was dead. And at the time I said, let's do a video. I'll even offer you £1,000 to do it. Bottled it. So, look, there are people out there like that. They like the sound of their own voice and they like people who kiss their arse, but they're terrified of getting into a debate with somebody that they might lose to. And I don't know, who they've never even met. So it's the end of the road with that. I'm not going to do any funny tweets about pints or anything anymore. That was the last straw last night. When I put the Irwin thing out and he took somebody else who copied it 5 minutes later and quoted that, I just thought, petty. I've never met the guy, but I'm starting to get an understanding of what he might be like. To be honest, Maguire hasn't been bad this season. He's been bad. I'm verging on tears as well. I'm gutted. I'm so gutted. I'm gutted. It would have been good content. And to be honest, it's not even about going on his thing. Come on the United Stand. Do it on bloody Talk Sport. I don't care. I just think it'd be good. To be honest, Maguire hasn't been bad this season. He's been bad since that 6-1 hammering from Spurs. So that's like 2 years. That's not bad form. That's him being what he is, a bad player, to be honest with you, Mark. He's an average player, mate, Nathan. I don't think Harry Maguire is a bad footballer. I just think he's average. I was on stage in London, or maybe it was Manchester, and I said, it was in London, and I said about Harry Maguire, at the end of the day, somebody should do a film about him. His career is unbelievable. Like, he's played loads of times for England. He's been Man United's captain for the last 3 years. He cost £80 million. He gets questions asked about him every press conference. I don't think he's any better than Michael Keane. So I think we should all just stand up and applaud him, because I don't think there's much between Harry Maguire and Michael Keane. And yet one of them plays for Everton, or probably doesn't even play for Everton now. The other one regularly plays for England, cost £80 million and is Man United's captain. I think what he's achieved with his talent, I'm not taking the piss. I think what he's achieved with this talent is a great sign for everybody. But I don't think he's particularly good. Mikhail Roach, can't Ben make a plan for you with Gary? Mate, look, I think a lot. You know what? On that world, Ben Foster's a legend. I love Ben Foster. He's such a nice guy, and I think he gets it. Obviously, a lot of footballers live in a bubble, but Ben Foster's actually switched on into real life. He's got a real sense of humour, and he's a really nice guy, and he gets it. But at the end of the day, I think with a lot of people, it comes down to jealousy. There's another ex-United player who does YouTube. He's terrified as well. I mean, let's call it how it is. Rio's terrified of doing content with us as well. I don't like talking about it, but people ask about it a lot. I don't know what it is. They're just scared. I think they're scared of, what might happen if I must put myself in a situation where we're having a chat about something, and he says, well, what do you think about this? If you're on stage in Manchester, I do take the piss out of people, and Ben Foster gave it back a lot as well. It was very funny. He came back at me about ex people on the channel, people at other channels. It was fun, and I was giving him some about Wrexham, saying what was it about the multimillionaire Ryan Reynolds that brought you out of retirement. The only thing that goes in Ben Foster's goal is that GoPro, isn't it? It's look at the views. That's and I was winding him up about that. So life's not a dress rehearsal. I think say what Catchphrase was a great show. Say what you see. If you see it, say it. It's never personal. Everything we do is laced with banter. But if you see anybody sitting there slagging off a manager, and then when their mate's the manager and we're playing worse than we ever have, and they're going, I'm not going to do it, why should we sit there and just accept it? Hi Mark, I'm turning 25 today. I've been watching for a couple of years. Keep up the great content, and thank you to the whole United Stand team, says Andreas. Thank you very much, Andreas. Let's have a quick look at the chat. You've got to have banter, says Daddy. Of course you have. And also, as I said, look, we're going to move on. There's other stuff to talk about. But in life, don't be that bitter person who's jealous and tries to justify bottling it and swerving people, but gobbing off about your opinions, but then you won't have a debate with certain people. Don't be that, because it'll burn you up inside. And effectively, it's what we've seen with this Tyson Fury fight. That fight should have happened. To swerve it because of percentages and this, that and the other. If you want the fight, you do the fight. And I just think life's for challenging yourself. As I said, there are certain people in this industry I don't like, but if they message me for a pint or a chat or a video, I'd probably do it, because at the end of the day, life's so short. And why, as I said, just don't be that person that's, a contradiction or a hypocrite. Don't, put yourself out there. Garnacho news, says Carlos. Well, look, this is interesting. So Garnacho is likely to be called up for the Argentinian Under-20s World Cup. So he's injured at the moment, and apparently this Under-20s World Cup, and I think it is a World Cup, it might be an Under-20s Copa America, I suppose, but I think it's the Under-20s World Cup. Garnacho will get called up by Argentina's Under-20 squad, who have the right to take any player they want out of their club domestic season to go to the Under-20s World Cup. So Garnacho could well get called up for the Under-20s Argentinian side in May, which would mean he wouldn't see the end of the season with United, which I think is a bit of a shame. But look, it depends. It depends. I mean, for Man United fans and Ten Hag, that's a shame, because he does play quite regularly for the first team when he's fit. Is it a shame for Garnacho? I don't know. The approach to international football in South America is very different to the approach in England. Like, if you were 18-year-old Marcus Rashford and it's May and you've got an FA Cup final and a Europa League final and you're fighting for top four and there's an Under-20s World Cup for England, there ain't no way you want to go and play for England Under-20s. You want to play in the Europa League final and everything. But I don't know with South Americans. Garnacho might be, I want to play for Argentina in the Under-20s over playing for Man United in a Europa League final. If that's the case, then Ten Hag's got to manage that. The problem is if Garnacho wants to play for us and Ten Hag wants him and we want him, and then the Argentinian FA go, no, we want him in the Under-20s. It's we have it with the African Cup of Nations, don't we? That happens in January. But I just think this is terrible timing, and this is football. This is what's happening with football. The calendar is ridiculous. It's relentless, and I just think it's a real shame if Garnacho gets back fit and then he's not going to be available for a potential Europa League final, top four run in, maybe an FA Cup final, because he's got to go and play in a tournament that overlaps with the end of our season. But what can you do about it? The rules are apparently there in place. Jack says, I don't see anybody giving up playing a World Cup for Europa League. Yeah, Jack, are you listening? Jack, you can go in the stupid corner with just Kevin. Like, what are you talking about? It's an Under-20s World Cup. Would you rather play in an Under-20s World Cup for Argentina, or would you rather play in a Europa League final, an FA Cup final, and fight for top four for Manchester United? For me, it's an absolute no-brainer. But, that's what I mean. Different areas of the world have different attitudes, even to their Under-21s team. But there you go. Kevin's not happy. You can come out now. You can come out. Kevin got put in the stupid corner at the start of the show because he said, why are you starting so early? It was 2 minutes past 10 and we've been doing a 10 o'clock show for the last 7 years. So there we go. But there we go. That's that. Talking about the stupid corner. In fact, nothing to do with the stupid corner. We're not going to use the stupid corner again. We might have to rename it. The Pratt corner. Takeover news in the media gone quiet, hasn't it? Says Charlie Max. With the summer edging closer, I'm a little worried about transfer plans and the clock is ticking. Charlie, you might have tuned in a bit late, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. We are expecting some big news today. I can't confirm it will be 100% today, but the people in the know are saying that they're expecting something to come out today about the takeover. How big that news will be, it could be a massive wave. It could be a little, stream. I don't know. But the reality is it will either be, I'm hoping it's going to be, they've gone to final bidder stage with a preferred bidder, which is 1. But I'm expecting we're going to go to a 3rd stage of bidding. Let's have a look at what some of the members are saying. Jack says, Jack must be Argentinian, says Lee R. We've also got Jack saying, what's wrong with under 21 World Cup? It's still a major tournament for your country. No, look, Jack, maybe it is important. That's the whole point. Maybe it is. But I personally think that the under 20s World Cup is crap compared to actually playing professional football in a Europa League final or an FA Cup final or fighting for top 4 with your domestic team. But I might be in the wrong. I might be wrong on that. Mackish is a member, says Mark really got hurt by Gary. Oh no! I mean, look, no, I'm not. I've been doing this for way too long. Look, I've been doing this for 7 years. I've got my own talk sport show for as long as I want to do it. With the biggest and best by a very long way, in my opinion. We've just done live shows where we've had like thousands of people watching. I'm talking community, I'm not talking individual. So our success is there. Whatever happens tomorrow, our success is proven. We're not just some little podcast with 20 people watching. It's a very, very big voice, and you wouldn't believe the people who contact us on a daily basis, whether it's players, whether it's agents, whether it's clubs, whether it's media outlets. So we've built something really, really good and pure. I'm not, but for the last 7 years, there has been conversations I've had where people have said to me, such and such has closed this door on you, such and such has said this privately. They won't say it publicly because they know what will happen, but it's been going on for years and years. It's a manipulative market. There's other content creators who slag you off and cause you problems and stop opportunities, and obviously that goes on in the mainstream as well. It is what it is. It's not a shock to me, but sometimes I think publicly you've just got to call it out and say, at the end of the day, a lot of these people haven't met us. Of course, there's a persona in the way that we do our content because we want to be opinionated. We want to say it how it is, and we want to try and bring a bit of humour into that. Everybody I've ever met actually got to meet, whether it's a player or anything like that. 90% of them we've got on really well, and all you can do is try. And if people want to hide behind a door and slam it in your face, that's up to them. That's life. But I think there's hypocrisy in that, and why not call it out? But we move on. The most important thing to me is what we have, and that's what it always has been. I've had offers to go and do stuff and leave this. I would never do that. How do you look this fresh on a Friday morning? Says Luke. I don't feel fresh today, mate. I feel exhausted. The London trip killed me. The show was amazing. The trip down there was terrible. The train got cancelled halfway down. I then got to the hotel, got stuck in a lift for 10 minutes. I mean, I might do a going for Goldbridge, actually, because that story about the lift was ridiculous. Then I got to the show and the audio wouldn't work with about 10 minutes before the show. And actually, when I went on the stage, the audio didn't work. Then after the show, it was a bloody nightmare. It took me about an hour after the show to get everything sorted. Went back to the hotel bar that was meant to be open till midnight for last orders. They'd closed early. Went to bed. Just thought, you know what, I'll have a bottle in bed and, watch some TV. And everything was rubbish. It was like fucking repeats of Coronation Street. So I was just like, the show was brilliant, but the whole day was just exhausting. So if I look fresh this morning, I don't feel it. But you good people always put a smile on my face. Mark, I fear that the Glazers will drag this out till June and screw our transfer window up. Love the content, and I know you're clear of Gary the Pratt, says Adam. Let's not call him a Pratt. He's a very, he's a legend of the club, and there's no doubts he's got his qualities. I just think there's something in his personality that's a little bit, it's almost, it's like a little spoilt child, to be honest. Remember when Graham Souness was having a go at him, and he started calling Jamie Carragher James, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like to judge people I haven't met, but comes across as somebody that throws his toys out the pram if he doesn't like something, and hence why he won't do anything with us. In defence of people that ask about the time, Mark, got you on TV and YouTube said start time 9 a.m. I think the US puts clocks forward after the UK, says Glenny boy. There you go. Just Keevan. You've got a defender there. Jack Lowe, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. And I would love for you to own football debate shows with other YouTubers, to be honest. Be really sick about different topics like top four relegation teams, says Nathan. Yeah, look, we've got stuff. We've got stuff planned. We've got stuff planned. Don't worry about that. Weather sucks in London today, says Anthony. Yeah, it's chucking it down. And Charles is a member. He says, you and the United Stand must be proud of what you've created. What we've created, Charles. What we've created. La Femme, who is giving us a super chat here, he says, if owned by Qatar, I don't think we will overpay players like PSG do, because it's not the same to come to the Premier compared to French League and the history, says La Femme. Well, at the moment, it's just pure speculation, isn't it? So we just don't know what's going to happen. But let's see what happens. Malp says Jamie Carragher spits at kids. You know when you read a chat and you wish you hadn't read it, but it was from a member. We'll move on. Oil me up, says Moses. Cap says, are we Qatari yet? Adam says Gary's a legend, but he's a prat in punditry. And I'm standing in the rain. Glazes oil me up, says Lewis Jackson. I know where we were going to go. So we were talking about Mason Greenwood last night, and the United Stand Twitter account, which I don't run, actually put a poll out yesterday saying, would you want Mason Greenwood to play for the club again? 50-50 it was. It was actually 60-40 on YouTube, so in favour of Mason Greenwood playing again. So it's a 50-50 poll on Twitter. It's been quote tweeted and utilised by loads of people who are outraged that Man United fans would even be 50-50 on this. Thankfully, they didn't watch the YouTube video because it was actually 60-40 on here. But look, a lot of people were quote tweeting it saying, I mean, I saw somebody say, well, that's just United Stand viewers. And I was like, but 50% don't want it. So what are you talking about? That's just United Stand viewers. And again, it's this whole e-fans thing, isn't it? And you will get the people who, think they shit perfume, thinking that their opinions matter. It's the same thing they did with Qatar. Most real fans don't want Qatar, and yet nobody can find a poll where these real fans have said they don't want Qatar or Al Thani. Look, the reality is, I accept we are a worldwide fan base. We're a global fan base, Manchester United, and different areas of the world have different attitudes to different things. That's the way it is. And maybe certain United fans in certain areas of the world don't really see the issue with what Mason Greenwood's situation is, and they just want to see a footballer back playing. Maybe people in England don't see issues. You don't need to be a global fan. That's my point. The reality is, this is why we do this. This is why we do what we do. This is the way, because it's about giving people an opinion. And what we don't want is suppression of opinion. Sometimes in life, you'll come across an opinion that you're very much against. I don't want to give you any slow sports news here, but if you turn the news on, there'll be some horrific things on there involving murder and all sorts of criminality. Bad things happen in the world. And in contrast to bad things, people have different opinions to you as well. It's about maturity and the ability to debate it. Just because you're adamantly thinking something's wrong and somebody thinks it's right doesn't mean that you can suppress that and make it right in your mind. You've got to have the trust and faith in your opinion. So look, it did cause a little bit of a debate, certainly on Twitter, because 50% of people had said they'd like him to play. A lot of people who I respect saying, I do not want him to play. But on the other hand, some people I do respect justifying why he should play again. Not really much to add, other than the fact that it's this... I don't really understand the whole slagging off of people who've got a different opinion to you. it's an opinion. You can construct a counter to it, but it's still an opinion. And we spoke about it in depth last night on the show if you want to check it out. But it's a very difficult decision for Manchester United to make. And as I said, I don't envy United on this one. I really don't. Charlie says, Mason's better than Osman. However, if I speak, I get in trouble. Well, Charlie, I don't think he is, because he hasn't played for 2 years. I think he was a generational talent, and I'll stand by that. You know, I'm quite stubborn about my opinions, as you know. But where he is now, I don't know. I mean, one thing I will say is, and I can say this completely on a football level, and I can say it with total and utter conviction, Mason Greenwood will never be the player he could have been. He never will be. Even if he came back for us or somebody else and scored 40 goals a year, I still think he would have been a better player if he hadn't lost 2 years between 20 and 22. There ain't many footballers that can lose between 20 and 22 and achieve their full potential. He still could end up being a very, very good player, but he ain't never going to be the player he could have been. He can think he is, you can think he is, I can think he could be, but he won't. You can't lose 2 years of your career, and ultimately it will be about 2 years, because he stopped playing in around the start of January, didn't he? So that's a year and a bit. It's going to roughly be about 18 months, isn't it? But I just don't think you can lose that amount. It's like having a cruciate ligament injury, isn't it? And he's not been playing. You know, he's not been playing. He might have been playing down the park. He might have been playing behind closed doors with mates and stuff, but he's not been playing against bloody, you know, Zinchenko or Luke Shaw in training. It's a lot of development. He still could be a very good player, but he won't be the player he could have been, because that's a lot of that's a lot of time and a lot of development to use at a very important stage. Doesn't Qatar owners worry you as the transfer policy at PSG hasn't been great? They spend so much and get knocked out the Champions League easily, says Nathan. Look, I've said it many times, if we do end up being owned by Al Thani, I hope there is no replication or duplication of the PSG model. I don't like it at all. The PSG model is basically the Real Madrid model of the early noughties, where they bought people like Figo and Zidane and Ronaldo and R9 Ronaldo, Beckham, and they built this Galacticos team that didn't ever win the champion. I think they won 1 La Liga. And that's what PSG have done. I love Messi, probably the greatest player that's ever played the game. Mbappe, for me, is probably the best player in the game at the moment. And Neymar, no doubt, is a fantastic player. But I would never have them as a front three. I don't care whether I'm playing Football Manager on cheat code, I would never have them as a front three. They don't work as a front three. There's no balance there. And that's just the Galactico approach from PSG. We don't want that at Man United. If Eric Ten Hag has £500 million to spend and he says, I want to spend it on this 19-year-old from Germany, and they say, no, get Mbappe, you get the 19-year-old from Germany because you back the manager. As a Dane, HOJLUND is so important for Denmark right now. I feel both HOJLUND and Kane are both perfect matches for United, says Waxy. Thank you very much. Michael Murray, thank you very much. Welcome to the Members Club. Thanks for the bless you there. Appreciate that. One thing I did want to ask is, it's difficult actually. I'm trying to think how to ask it. In my mind, it was a really good question, and then I sort of know what the answers would be. If Manchester United can't get Osman or Kane, I know what everyone's going to say. So my question is not going to be that. My question is going to be, what striker would you go for if it was up to you? Now, for me, it will always be Osman, because I think that's the most logical one to go for. Having said that, if it wasn't Osman, it wouldn't be Kane. It would be somebody like a Ferguson or a HOJLUND. And I know there's massive, massive risk in that. But ultimately, if Eric Ten Hag wanted that type of player, I would go and get it. Because, as I said at the start of the show, my fear is we buy Harry Kane and Spurs end up buying a Ramos or a HOJLUND or a Ferguson. And then in 4 years' time, Kane's finished. And then we're going to Spurs wanting to spend another £150 million on HOJLUND. And I just think, you know what? If Spurs did go for HOJLUND and he's playing up front for Spurs in the Premier League, why could he not be playing? up front for Manchester United. And that's my justification. People will say they're too young, Mark. They're too young, Mark. But actually, we've got a lot of experience in that team. You've got Rashford, you've got Bruno, you've got Eriksen, you've got Casemiro. We're going to bring another midfielder in. What do we need? A striker that's experienced. We need a striker who can put the ball in the back of the net. Well, Højlund's already doing it for Denmark. He's already doing it for Atalanta. Ferguson's doing it for Brighton. Haaland was a young striker. I don't see the problem with going with a young striker. I think some people are going, we've got to go with a bit of experience. Erling Haaland's quite young, you know. And Erling Haaland's background was Salzburg, well, Molde, Salzburg, Dortmund and Norway. And we all knew he was going to be a success. So I don't think there's a massive problem going with a younger profile striker. But I agree, 100% it looks like it's going to be Harry Kane. Anyway, look, fantastic show this morning. Really enjoyed it. We've been all over the place, but that's what it's all about. Legends in the chat, as always. Thanks for our new members. Thanks for the super chats, and thanks for everyone else who's watching live. If you're not watching live, I hope you've enjoyed the show as well. We've got the Erik ten Hag press conference. I'll just confirm the time for you. I believe he's doing it at 1:30. Sometimes he does it at 12:30, but I will just confirm it for you now. He's going to be on at 1:30 today, so we'll be live at about 1:45. We've got a preview for you this evening as well, so lots to get involved with. And then the weekend is back, Premier League football this weekend. So we've got a 10 o'clock show tomorrow. We'll have the road trip. We've got the match on Sunday. It's fasten your seatbelts time. It's going to be relentless. 3 games a week, isn't it, till the end of May? I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I'd like to say I'm well refreshed, but I've played the game. I've done 4 tour shows in the international break. You know, that's a lot of energy. But I'm ready to go, and I hope you're ready to go as well. What was Cantona's backpack when he returned after kicking the man pitch side? I don't know what that's all about, Nick. I don't know what that's all about. We will be on Twitch this afternoon as well. Take care, everyone. Fantastic show, and I will speak to you all in a bit.